In the world of wedding DJs, originality isn't just a vibe, it's your brand. But what happens when another DJ shows up with your exact style, your playlist, maybe even your tagline? So today on the Wedding Songs podcast, we're diving into DJ copycats and more. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Wedding Songs Podcast, featuring newly released songs you need to know and the tried and true classics. Get song ideas from the time guests arrive until the last dance of the reception. And now your host, Matt Campbell, founder of MyWeddingSongs.com.
Welcome everybody to the Wedding Songs Podcast. I am Matt Campbell. Today we're going to be talking about DJ copycats and also talking with Jim Collins about his brand new memory vault. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you being here. And just to give some context too, you're based in Connecticut, but you know, every DJ travels the world. But I'd just like to give people a home base just to get an idea of when we do talk about music and whatnot, they know where you're located. So I'm going to start off with, can you just share details of a unique wedding moment that you had as a DJ?
Yeah, and the whole expectation is when you're planning with couples in advance for the wedding, we do a couple meetings with our couples too, planning meetings, and getting to know the couple in advance is helpful because the more you ask questions, open-ended questions during those planning sessions, the more information you're going to get, right, as far as planning for their wedding. So I think you approach that as similar to music choices. And when couples have a personalized list of music for a cocktail, for dinner, you know, or for the reception, some ideas, some moments they want to create with family or friends on a dance floor, whatever it may be, having those conversations. So just, thinking about some unique things some unique experiences and moments at weddings. Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, one that comes to mind, and it's not necessarily one that I helped create, but it was one of those moments like, what is the craziest things you've ever seen at a wedding before? Well, I was working with this guy who worked for a large multi-op company. And when I first started and was thinking about DJing myself and being a master of ceremonies, I asked him, what's the craziest? We're at a wedding, and it was at a mansion in Connecticut, which is where we're based out of, by the way. We're out of central Connecticut. And so I asked him, I said, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen at a wedding? So we're on the back patio, concrete patio, dance floor. Everybody's having a great time. Literally moments after I said that, one of the groomsmen did a backflip, all right, on a concrete dance floor. Think about it. I'm setting it up right now. And didn't make it all the way and ended up hitting his face on the concrete. Okay. So he gets up and he's had a few drinks. And I think that's why this happened. Literally wiping blood off of his face on a tablecloth, and you couldn't see him after that, right? So he was gone literally probably about 2 minutes after that. He disappeared from the wedding. I look over at the DJ, the guy I was shadowing, and he said, yeah, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen at it. And I'm like, okay. All right. Interesting. So that's the first thing that comes to mind, but I think you have to be really careful. You got to understand the family, you got to understand the couple. One of the moments that really comes to mind was creating a moment. I have to tread lightly and be careful about this, was closing off the night with Country Road, Take Me Home, John Denver. And it was a sentimental song for a parent who had passed. But so it could be certainly a high peak for the last song of the wedding, but it was a surprise. And I chose to surprise the couple with that to kind of, start their lives together by the end of the reception, but bring it together with a meaningful and purposeful song choice that really brought everyone together. And it went over so positive where it could have, caused a little upset at the same time. So it was a good emotion. It was a good moment.
Like you said, it's knowing your couples and taking advantage of that. I love that. If you could please just introduce yourself to our listeners.
Sure. So I'm Jim Collins. So I started DJing. I'm a musician. I grew up performing at a young age of 7 at a talent show at an elementary school. First song that I chose to sing in front of a live audience was All Out of Love, this Air Supply song. And my parents loved the song, and, super cheesy when I kind of think of it now, but it was cool. I got a standing ovation at the end. I didn't know that I could sing. I was hiding behind the microphone kind of at the whole beginning of it. And then that's where music really started as a passion for me. And then from there, I played out in bands in middle school and high school. I did a lot of venturing into writing original music, doing cover music. I started off doing that, and then eventually moved out to Boston to get into the music scene for a while. Got into the band, the ex-drummer of the band Boston, Sid Hashian, and ended up, playing with him for a couple of years, learning from a pro, best in the business, so great mentor in music business as a lead singer of his band, and just been interested in, songwriting and creating landscapes and music and getting into that. Came back and finished up college. And shortly after that, the gentleman I spoke of, who was the event I shadowed, I found out that there was a karaoke every Wednesday at a club local to where I lived. And he was doing his wedding season, so he couldn't do it. And the owner of the club, who I knew from high school, asked me if I could do karaoke. So I love to sing. And of course, I wanted to get out there and do that and perform. And so it was a good way for me to sing a couple songs while having other people want to get up and do the same. So I hosted the karaoke night in his place for a while until he got back from his wedding season. But then I got curious about what he was doing. And I said, that sounds kind of cool. DJing weddings, what's that all about? So I reached out to him shortly after that and said, hey, do you mind if I shadow you and just see what it's all about? So great guy. Got out to that first wedding experience with a gentleman who hurt himself. And from there, shortly afterwards, I said, this is something I really like. And, I want to do. I love music. I'm passionate about it. And then I started Collins Entertainment in 2012. So that's where it started. And then, since 2012, onboarded our first DJ in 2016. And now we have a team of 6 DJs.
Fantastic. Congrats. Because I know it's difficult to have, having DJs under you is not the easiest, and it's not for everybody. So I commend you for that.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to, take away from this a baby that you created. You put all that time, that investment into building your company, getting good reviews with couples, having the brand trust and everything, and then handing that off to someone that, like you said, could take that and destroy it very quickly. So that was something I was hesitant about for years, but then finally said, I'm going to push forward in 2016 and just do it and think intelligently ahead of time a way to do that and make sure we keep the magic going for couples.
For sure. And I think that's a great transition too, because you're managing those DJs. Have you ever had another DJ copy your style mixes or marketing out there? And how did you handle it?
I did that. I mean, when I first started, because I didn't have an idea, I'm like, what works for people? I'll be totally honest. I wanted to make it work for us too. And so I'm totally to blame for that. And I think everybody is, until you get your place and you have the confidence and ability to be creative on your own. That went for music too. I mean, a lot of times growing up playing in bands, I was emulating a lot of the same styles of the singers that I loved the most and sounding like them when I used to record in the studio or perform, my favorite singers. Until you finally get the confidence, like I said, to be able to say, okay, well, I trust myself and my creative ability where I could stand out on my own and be confident in who I am. And I think that goes for music if you're a songwriter. And I think that's if you're a DJ too, because there's plenty of DJs that are out there that I look up to, who I think I emulated a lot of the way they talk on the microphone at weddings, opening up, do introductions, until I made it my own too. So absolutely. I think there's a lot of things that DJs that are just starting off, or even DJs that are seasoned, that will emulate. But I think even musical artists do that these days. Those that, take from Michael Jackson or The Weeknd, for example. You hear a lot of influence in Michael Jackson when his voice, the way he performs, the style of songwriting. So I think you just got to take it with an approach that, sure, you're gonna take attributes of different personalities out there in the business, but you got to also have that originality yourself as well.
So then, where do you draw the line between inspiration and imitation in the DJ world?
Yeah, and I think it's just making it your own, because let's face it, no one is going to, as much as you try to be something that you're not, no one's going to be you. No one's going to have your personality. No one's going to have your inflections, the way you talk, the way that you present yourself, the way you mix music. It's going to be different. So even if you try to emulate, like I see a lot of videos on Instagram where there's a one DJ in particular who started, blew up on TikTok and shows himself mixing and doing word plays and from one song to the next. And then all of a sudden, all these other DJs are doing the same exact thing. Now, they may not be doing it the same way, but they're emulating that. And that's where you got to be careful, because then you're oversaturating the creativity aspects of what you're doing. And then it just becomes a little dry, I think. I think it's a good question. I think that you just have to keep reinventing what you're doing and continue to be creative. And that's hard, because you're comfortable with the things that work well, that will work well, but then branching out and trying new things, that's a little scary. because it's unfamiliar territory.
100% in agreement with you that you have to do what makes you unique and not the same as everybody else, because that's why couples will hire you. But then at the same time too, I think that you have to target those couples. If you're going to do those mixes, it has to be the music that they're interested in, that you want to target. If you want to be a hip hop DJ, then you should be mixing hip hop music. If you're doing country, then you should be doing country, what you know, and your couples want, and then the couples you want to hire you. So,
Absolutely, 100%.
do you think couples hiring DJs can tell when somebody is copying somebody else and being inauthentic?
I think to a certain extent, it depends on how much research they've done in advance and seen, like if they've seen DJs live before weddings. And I definitely think 100% if you're not genuine on a microphone, people pick up on that instantly. And they'll know, okay, this is just an act, this is a skit, this is what that person does all the time, and maybe replaces the name of the couple, cookie cutter type way of doing things. So I think if you talk and you're just real on the microphone and genuine, couples, family, friends are going to notice that right away.
Yeah, I totally agree. I interviewed Bill Herman recently, and he said kind of the same thing, that just tell the story in front of you, be authentic.
Yes.
I remember one of the stories of DJs, we always used to say the groom should put the hand on top of the bride and say, this will be the last time you have the upper hand. And it's like, that's been told, I can't tell, countless times over the years, and it's become inauthentic because it's been used so much. So I think, yeah, bringing out your personality is really important.
For sure.
Wedding DJs and wedding pros, are you ready to elevate your expertise and keep the dance floor packed? Introducing the Wedding Music Letter, your weekly email written by me, Matthew Campbell, packed with exclusive insights and inspiration. Every Wednesday, I deliver curated playlists, deep dives into wedding and music industries, and practical tips on topics like science of creating a playlist, managing decibel levels, and crafting unforgettable parent dances. Stay informed, stay inspired. Subscribe to the Wedding Music Letter and bring the best music moments to life at every wedding. Sign up today at weddingmusicletter.com. The Wedding Music Letter, expert insights every Wednesday straight to your inbox at weddingmusicletter.com. Now back to the show. Have you ever seen other DJs copying your playlists or song transitions?
Yes, I have. And I was actually surprised by it. That's happened a couple times. It's happened with DJs that I admire, and got to know pretty well. I've seen that. I haven't noticed it happen too often, but I have picked it up. And that could be from just, mixing style. It could be from the way you're introducing, doing introductions. It could be even just mixes. Like if you put something out in a mix on SoundCloud or something, and it could be completely my imagination too. It could be coincidental, but I do feel that happens a lot.
Yeah, that's crazy. We're talking about being authentic, and then somebody copies you. That's crazy. How important do you think song selection is in creating a unique DJ identity?
Well, that's a tough one, only because I think a lot of times when you're doing weddings and events for couples, I'm just thinking weddings here. Ahead of time, you're talking about what are their must plays, what are play if possible. So songs that you have to kind of play based on what they're wanting to and what their vibe is. I mean, it could be totally loose, I guess, in the sense that some couples will just say, here's our vibe, and go with it. Whatever you choose to do is. So I think there's just a range of possibilities with it. But I think personally, I'm not playing for myself. Thinking about the couple, thinking about their friends and family and what they want to get out of the celebrations. Can you get a little bit more specific on what you mean by that? I don't know if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, that's interesting, because when I asked that question, I thought the same thing, that it's going to really, the music that you play is going to be determined on the music that the couple wants at the wedding and
Right.
how they're reacting. But then I think the question for me stands out of how you arrange that music, the ebb and flows of the music. I think that's just so important to bring out your identity.
Yeah. I think for sure. So it's whether it's your mixing style. So if you're slamming into a song and one way, and then you're deciding you're going to do a word play, or use stems and change the structure and sound of the song, doing it that way, taking all those different styles and incorporating that in and making it, flavorful and interesting still. So you're not doing the same thing every time, making it your own style. So not necessarily mixing the same songs together, every wedding that you do, but challenging yourself, looking at it as creative in the sense where you're taking risks, but not so much that you're sabotaging a dance floor because of it. And I think just authenticity is one of those aspects with mixing. But yeah, I think that's as far as I would think about it. Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to newer DJs trying to stand out without copying others?
Try to just be yourself from the beginning and just trust in who you are as a person and have the confidence because I think it's a lot easier to start that way than to try to correct later on and have to adjust. So just believe in yourself is the bottom line.
So right before we get to the memory vault, I just wanted to ask you, do you have any tips for couples planning their wedding music? Anything stand out in this wedding season?
I think trusting in your hired entertainment that they're going to be able to do their job, hopefully, and read the dance floor and have an understanding about your music choices and what you like, what your vibe is and what you're going for. Trusting your DJ in the sense that if you're a couple who doesn't necessarily have a lot of songs in mind for your wedding, leave it up to your entertainer to gauge and figure that out. They're the expert. That's what you're paying them to do. And but if you do have a lengthy list of songs and you have a vibe, great, share that with your DJ. I think there's a lot of DJs that are open to the fact that, hey, you give me 200 songs that you just love, great. That gives me a lot of area to explore things. And one other thing that comes to mind is too, if you do have a set idea as far as what you want played at your wedding, to trust that if it's not going well on the dance floor, because you picked out amazing songs, but people are just not vibing to them for your wedding, that it's important to allow your DJ to shift gears. And that's okay. And have that conversation in advance if that situation were to occur, how that would be handled. So I think it's just, those conversations to have in advance and not on the day of the wedding and say, hey, because I've heard of DJs that go up to couples during their wedding and say, what do you think your friends would like to hear? Because it's not going well. And that just puts stress on a couple. Yeah. So I just think having a conversation in advance with your DJ and letting them know your vibe and your playlist. If you don't have one, let them take the responsibility of setting up your day for success by using your intuition and expertise.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think hiring the professional DJ. And the flip side of that is that's probably one of the biggest worries of couples hiring DJs is are the DJs going to play what we're asking? So it's kind of a catch-22. Definitely want to hire the right DJs for sure.
Someone comes up to you as a guest and they ask if you could play something that's on a do not playlist, not throwing the couple under the bus and just say, hey, I'll do my best to get to it because what will happen is if you say, oh, this is on a do not playlist, you're going to go up to that couple and bug them, harass them, and then the couple is going to be kind of feeling, all right, fine, all right, let's play it. So don't want that situation to happen.
Managing those situations and allowing the couple to have a great time, because like you said, that's definitely not the ideal scenario. All right, now we're going to talk about the memory vault. What exactly is the memory vault?
Yeah, so all right, think of a time capsule. So if you think of a time capsule to the best of your ability, I remember when I was attending Central Connecticut State University for my undergrad, they opened up a time capsule. So they put that together and where they put all these artifacts in a time capsule, and then 50 years from now, open it up and see what's there. So it's kind of one of those, I guess, moments before I fell asleep idea. And I think that's when I find a lot of creativity comes to me with music or otherwise is, when my mind is calm and in a place and state where I feel relaxed, I'll think of things. And it was right before I fell asleep about 3 weeks ago. And the idea for the memory ball is messages that'll be lasting for couples from a loved one years from now. So something that's sentimental, maybe from a grandmother's message that's left for them during their wedding day, but they open up that message 10, 25, 50 years from now, not knowing what the contents of that message were.
So are they writing out the messages at the reception or the wedding and then putting them in that time capsule?
So the idea is it's audio or video messages, and primarily video messages that'll go out. So they're sent from, the couples could do that for each other. So they could, I've seen it actually at our wedding, as a matter of fact, our videographer asked us to give a special message to one another, and then they would edit and put that footage together when we got the video back. And I thought that was cool. I had all these amazing things to say about my wife, and she said some nice things to say about me. Not so nice, I was a little bit nicer than her. But yeah, we did that, and I thought it was the coolest thing when we got it back to see what were the messages, right? And that was like 3 weeks, 4 weeks after our wedding. So to think of the same sentimental value and extend that. So maybe on your 1-year anniversary, you get a message from your husband or your wife. Maybe it's a 5-year anniversary. Maybe it's just, you don't know when it's happening. It could be a random date that's unexpected 25 years from now. And then to have that nice surprise. But I think it really hits home with having, someone that's passed away even long after the wedding. I think that's where it pulls at your heartstrings a lot. And I think a big part of this comes, and then the name of it, Memory Vault, stems from my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's last September, and she passed pretty quickly. She passed this last March. And so I think that has a lot to do with it, and the reason I'm so passionate about the idea and offering that for couples, since no other DJ companies are doing that. And so I'm excited about it. It's something I trademarked, and so now we have this offering to our couples.
The reason I love this is that if you get your wedding video back, how long is that? It's going to be 45 minutes, whatever, how long it is, just to capture glimpses of certain people that may have passed or maybe you just lost connection with. So you have to watch that whole video just to get those, where now you're getting those specific clips. So that way you can just watch that one person instead of the whole evening. I love that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it certainly isn't going to be something that every couple will resonate with everybody. But I think it is something just like a service that you offer with any company that people are going to gravitate towards more than others. Maybe some couples choose a photographer and don't want a videographer, or maybe they value entertainment before they do photography. So so I keep that in mind. I try to stay cognizant of that as well and mindful of those things. But I think it's a interesting thing that you could offer as far as rolling out for guests, even giving instead of at the day of the wedding, offering that too. And so they get a nice surprise from Uncle Tom or whoever it is, a family member or friends or family. So
for those of you who are listening, we're recording on July 23rd. When is this live now, or do you have a launch date?
Yeah, so we're soft launching this in the next 2 weeks.
So by the time this comes out, you're going to be launched.
Yes.
Fantastic. And are you going to be adding any custom mixes to the videos, or do you have any plans for that?
Right. So that's a big part of the process is afterwards. So they'll be edited videos. So we'll take the footage and we'll explain to, our couples, we'll explain to family members that when you're doing this, that don't worry about it. We'll take control of editing everything for you and send it out of that time frame that you want it delivered.
Thanks for sharing that. Make sure you check that out. And is there something that we missed today that you wanted to share other than what we talked about?
Sure. Yeah. So and I always offer this too, Wedding Tips with Jim. That's on TikTok. That's a one profile page you can check out if you're a couple that's looking for toasting tips, song choices, anything to do with weddings. I have Wedding Tips with Jim. I have music, Jim Collins on TikTok, and you can find my music there. Spotify, any cloud service that offers streaming music. I definitely have some cool, chill acoustic mixes of popular songs. So they have that, for anyone that wants to learn a little bit about my musical journey. And Collins Entertainment, based out of Central Connecticut, for any couples in Connecticut that are looking for unique wedding experiences. We have a team of 6 DJs, as I mentioned earlier, and always happy to help any couple that's looking for services and DJ services, and that's collinsentertainment.com. Yeah, so that's it.
And how do they reach? What's your TikTok channel?
So the TikTok is Collins Entertainment CT, Collins Entertainment CT, and then Instagram is Collins Entertainment DJ.
I'm going to throw out one more question before we close out. What music is trending in the Connecticut area at weddings?
Oh man, Pink Pony Club is a hit, and that's a sing-along. So I don't know if I think it's quickly becoming the Piano Man sing-along song at the end of the night or even middle part of the night. Man, I could go on for hours and hours and hours of new songs. Yeah, so I don't know. I think a lot of the classics are coming back. I find that in rotation after, 10 years, sometimes songs that were played at weddings will come back and hit hard again. And, that often happens, but there's also those surefire songs that get everybody up to as well. They're consistent. Earth, Wind and Fire, September, Dynamite, Danza Kudero. And yeah, so Pink Pony Club is the one that just is a surefire song, that seems to get the same guttural reaction on the dance floor recently.
Awesome. Well, make sure you check out Jim Collins. His website is collins-entertainment.com. Check him out on all the social medias, and make sure you stay tuned for next week for another interview with a wedding pro. Thanks for listening and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Wedding Songs Podcast. Never miss a future episode. Subscribe today to our podcast. Follow us on Facebook at My Wedding Songs and send us a message about playlists you would like covered.